without a lot of foundation, just one story, we know that somebody else's faith can make a big difference. Well, I mean, practical. Let's go practical before we go too spiritual. Practically, what can somebody else's faith do in your life? Well, somebody else might be able to put into perspective things that you don't understand. They might help you to see big picture. I mean, the older I get, the more I realize seeing big picture is an important part of life. That's hard to do when you're young, because when you're young, everything is immediate, everything's right in front of you, and you only think about today, you don't think about tomorrow. It's only as you start getting older that you start thinking, maybe I should save some of this paycheck. You know, you ever see your 16-year-old that gets a job and the check's gone the night they get paid, or by Sunday, after they get paid on a Friday, by Sunday morning they're asking for money? Why is that? Well, because there's no real, you're so close to the moment, you don't realize that there's another day coming. And so that actually happens to us practically in life. It happens to us spiritually and it happens to us practically. We get so close to a moment, it's really hard for us to see big picture. That's all about perspective. All right? Because if you're too close to the moment, you can't see what you need to see. I think some of us are there in the way that we're living, and we're there maybe in the realm of the Spirit. Think about an artist rendering. Like, look at it. I sat there this morning and saw the picture on the wall and thought, that's kind of a perfect example. Because you look, this side of the room probably can't see it, but you've got the pine tree and the couple of mountains. If you didn't know anything about perspective, what's taller? The tree or that back mountain? So you say mountain because you know perspective. You've seen enough artwork to know that mountain is a lot taller in real life than that tree. Why? Well, because mountains are taller than trees. But what if this is the first artwork you'd ever seen in your life and you had no perception of perspective? Well, the tree's way taller than the mountain. Look at it. I mean, it's got to beat by inches. That mountain's this big and the tree's this big. Well, you know that's foolish because you know, well, the mountain's way back there. You've got to stop dwelling on the stuff right in front of you, and you got to look at the thing deep. Well, that's probably pretty good advice for life sometimes too. That maybe you don't dwell completely on everything as if it's the only thing when there's something else. And so my point in that is that you had to be taught that. I mean, that's come so simple to you now, right? You look at that picture and go, well, the mountain's bigger than the tree. I know that because I've seen mountains and I've seen trees, and I haven't seen a tree bigger than a mountain. Otherwise, the mountain's not a mountain, it's a bump. I mean, a bump, not as big as a tree not as big as a mountain. You learned that. You learned it early. This is why when people get healed or people get their sight back after never being able to see, we don't think about perspective. We see a road sign. I'm going to drive home today and I'm going to pass a lot of road signs, and the road sign starts really small, and then you get closer to it, the road sign gets bigger, and the road sign gets bigger. If you've never used your eyeballs before, if an adult regains or gains their sight and never learned perspective, they will be scared thinking the sign is growing and is going to overtake them. Well, that seems dumb to us because we know perspective. It was never getting bigger. We're just getting closer. We needed help with that. We don't know that we needed help with it, but we got help when we were younger. I'm using that as an illustration that a lot of times what somebody else knows or what somebody else teaches you is very vital to understanding the moment that you're in. And I see that in the realm of the Spirit as well, because I'm a parent like a lot of people in the room. I'm trying to parent two young people into being young adults. I started with them being babies and then toddlers and then young kids and then teen. You know the scoop, and you got to change you got to change some stuff as you go along. And you're not just preparing for today, you're preparing for tomorrow, and then you're preparing for a year from now, and then 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, and ultimately you're preparing for when you're gone. And your knowledge goes a long, long way in those that don't have much of that, and you're sharing that with them. And so you're helping them gain perspective and gain understanding, but you're also moving spiritually to try to develop their faith and try to develop their self-identity and their awareness in the world. And so in that respect, your faith makes a big difference in somebody else's faith. It makes an enormous difference in somebody else's faith because it actually helps to shape it. So take that then into not just to your kids, but into your homes and into your workplaces and into your nation and onto your street. What might the faith that you have do as an effect on someone else?